Hello, and welcome to another FileCloud webinar. Today we're going to be discussing how to manage users, computers, and additional administrators. The topics we're going to be discussing are going to be how to create a FileCloud user, how to import users from your Active Directory into FileCloud, how to import users from a CSV file into FileCloud. We're also going to be discussing about groups, how to create a FileCloud group, and how to sync an Active Directory group to FileCloud. We're also going to be discussing how to add an additional administrator. Okay. Now, if you look at my screen, you're going to be able to, we're actually on the FileCloud admin portal. When creating a FileCloud user or a group or doing any of the actions we discussed before, you're going to see that you need to access the admin portal. How do you know you're in the admin portal? Well, for starters, you're going to realize that on top of the URL, you're going to get the word admin rather than the word core. That pretty much lets you know that you're in the admin portal. Furthermore, the UI changes completely. You have a nicer look, and this pretty much gives you a full overview of the FileCloud system. Now, let's go ahead and go to users. Over to the left side menu bar, you're going to see users. While looking at the users, you're going to be able to see the users that you already have. Now, while doing so, we're going to go ahead and click on Add a User. Now, when you click on Add a User, this allows you to create a FileCloud user. Now, creating a FileCloud user is rather easy, as it will permit you to not only grant them access, but to also monitor every action that they do on your system. All right. Some of the options you have is default authentication, that's the FileCloud authentication, or Active Directory or LDAP. We're going to be discussing this one in a moment. So when you click on access level, you have three types. What does this really mean? FileCloud users have three types of users: full access, guest, and limited access. The full access user will grant the user that you create having the capability to have personal storage space on FileCloud. Think about it as your documents folder on Windows computer, right? But in FileCloud, it's called My Files. Now, a guest level access user has exactly the same features of the full access user, except that they do not have access to personal storage space. The full access and the guest users count towards your licensing use. Now, limited users. Limited user accounts are those which do not have personal storage space, cannot share a file, cannot access our desktop clients such as FileCloud Drive, FileCloud Sync, and are those who won't be able to create a folder, for example, to share it out. So what can a limited user do? A limited user can receive a file that a full access or a guest user is sharing a file or folder. And it will also allow them to upload such files so that a limited user can collaborate with a full access user. To give you a better idea, right? Let's say that you are a law firm and you need a user to upload a file, but you really do not want to spend money or a license on that user. You can create their account as a limited user account, and that way they can share files with you in a secure manner. Now, for this example, I'm going to be showing you how to create a full access user. I'm going to create my full access user. I'm going to call it Tom Ford. Now you see the username, it's always going to be different than the display name. They can be the same though, but in this case, I'm going to be making them different. What does this mean? That when they're going to log in, he's going to need to use Tom Ford, but in the top right corner in the display name, he's going to, right here, he's going to be seeing Tom Ford, Tom space Ford. Now the password, which you can actually follow any password guidance you want. To give you an example, you can have secure passwords or others. These are all options that are available on the admin portal. At this point, we type in the email. The email is very important, and why so? FileCloud creates your users based on the email. You can have the same user with the same name, but not the same email, right? For example, when creating such environment, it does require for you to have a different email for each user. Now, sending a notification tells this user, hey, your account's been created. Please click on the following URL to log in, right? And it also includes the password and the email. You can do it all from once. Once you're done, just click on create. Automatically, the user has been created, and you get a pop-up notification that says, hey, the user has been successfully created. Now, let's go back to that option and see what happens if I do Active Directory. Now, please do consider that the following. In order for you to be able to import a user from your Active Directory, you're gonna have to integrate your Active Directory with FileCloud. In order to do this, or if you'd like to know more information about this, feel free to go to our documentation at getfilecloud.com/support docs, or send an email to our support team at support@codeleft.com, and we will be able to schedule a session with you to assist you with this integration. Now, in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and integrate my admin account for the domain controller. This is master in this case, and I'm gonna call it domain admin. Click on import. So automatically this makes a call to the domain controller, which then proceeds on pulling out the user. As you can see, this user icon is a little bit different as it has a little blue key. The blue key indicates that this is an Active Directory user. Within FileCloud, you can have both, right? Active Directory users or normal FileCloud users. Now, when you're integrating with Active Directory, FileCloud will immediately pull the email. If there's no email configured on the user's Active Directory account, FileCloud will be unable to pull this user. Now, going over some of the settings you can do on creating users, you can also import them. Importing a user is very simple as we provide two options, right? Number one, you can create a CSV file. And number two, you import the user. So how will you import users from your Active Directory? Once they're imported, you can import them based on a group. So you're gonna click on group list. You see FileCloud here. As soon as I select FileCloud and I click on import, it starts importing every user that I have on the group. So for example, if you see here, some of them were not imported as a duplicate username exists, a duplicate username exists. This is because the username and the email are exactly the same, therefore it cannot import duplicate, and it tells you, hey, this account already exists, right? But this is an option that you have to import them. Another option that you have to import users is creating a CSV file. Now, creating the CSV file is rather simple. Pretty much just copy the header on top, as I have done like so, and then just save this file as a CSV file, as I've already done it. So in here, I got Michael, Tom, Elizabeth, and Mitchell. So for example, we already have Tom there, but the username might be different, so it will accept it. Let me close this up and let me choose that file. So I'm gonna go ahead, go to my desktop, FileCloud user import, click on open, and just click on import. Automatically, FileCloud is going to go through the process. You're going to get import complete, download results. So you can download the results to see what was imported because you're not really going to get a log on the UI, but you can always download a report to see it. We're going to be seeing those results in a moment. Now, as you can see, I can definitely see they were all imported. As you can see, more users here. And when we go ahead and click on the open results, it's pretty much a log, right? So it's telling me that Mitchell, Tom, Elizabeth, and Michael were all successfully imported. That is how you create users and import users. Now, going over to the groups. The groups have a similar functionality, right? When you create a group, simply go to top right corner and click on Add Group. We can call this File. Oh, there's a FileCloud group, right? And I'm going to save it. Perfect. So once I create my group, you notice it has 0 users. So how do I add users to it? Simply click on this icon right here to display more actions. Go to the Manage Member option, and you have the availability of selecting the users you want and moving them from the left side over to the right side. Now, groups do have a limitation. If you notice, not all of my users that are in here are the ones that have users. Reason why is because limited users cannot be inside a group. That is as per design. Now, once you do that, you click on Close and click on Update, and your group will be updated, right? Now, another option that you also have is that you can directly import a user to a group. Let us review this a little bit fast here. If you notice you have groups, that means that I can just create the user logins and specify the group name. Keep in mind that in order for this to work, you need to create the group first. Once the group is created, when you click on import, automatically the users will be created and they will be imported into the group that you have selected. Now, going over back again in our group, I'm going to go ahead here and just do a quick update and remove all of the members. Another capability you have, in case you do not want to do this because you have your Active Directory integrated, is that you can simply sync whatever group you have in your AD into FileCloud. Just make sure it's not a security admin group or a security domain group, because that one, for security matters, FileCloud will not import them. Now, I'm going to click on Group List, select FileCloud. Now, if you're wondering from where is it picking it up, if we go back into my domain controller using computers, you can see in here, FileCloud has a global group, right, and with my members. Now, if this group were security and domain local, FileCloud will not accept it due to security matters. Now we're going to click on Close. And now it gives you a couple of options, right? Automatic sync, remove members, and disable members. So what does this mean, right? Automatic sync means that if you add a new user into the group on your domain controller, FileCloud would sync that up and add that user to this group on FileCloud as well. If you remove a member, it will also remove it from the group. And if you disable a member from this group, right, they will, if you disable a member from your Active Directory, it will also be disabled on FileCloud as well. That being said, do keep in mind that FileCloud has no control over changing your users on your Active Directory. That means that if you block a user in Active Directory, it gets blocked on FileCloud. If you reset a user's password in Active Directory, FileCloud is going to request for the new password, right? So pretty much once you integrate, the user control is all done through the domain controller. So at this point, I'm ready, right? I already selected my option. I'm going to click Import. So a new member added, existing member skipped, total members in group 1. Okay. Now, you might be wondering why it only added 1 user, right? The reason is because you remember that we already have a couple of users created, like Henry, I believe we also have Tom and Whale are already on my users, but they're FileCloud users, not Active Directory users. This is actually done on purpose because I wanted to review with you some of the scenarios that might assist you clarifying some of your questions. So if a user already exists, right, because you create a FileCloud user and you have a user in your domain controller, when trying to import them, FileCloud will let you know, hey, there's a user already in here, I cannot import the new user. Same thing would happen when you're doing a group member. During the group import, FileCloud detected that the users already existed, but they're not Active Directory users, but FileCloud users. Therefore, it only imports the group member. Now, why did it import it master, right? Because master is a user that already exists in FileCloud, but it is imported from Active Directory. Now that might be a little bit confusing, so I might just go back into my users just to let you know the differences. You see the master in here has a little icon called AD user. So when I tell FileCloud, hey, go and fetch the AD user group that I want, it pulls it down and it immediately adds master because master is already an AD user, right? So it doesn't really have any issue while trying to pull the resources down. Now, if you have any questions regarding users and groups, the topics that we reviewed, please feel free to just add them to the chat. I am constantly checking the chat, and after this session, I will go ahead and answer all of your questions one by one. So don't even worry about it. Moving over to the admins. So what can you do in this scenario? Now, before I get into this, you're pretty much not converting a user into an admin, but providing him admin privileges. There is a bit of a difference in those two regards. For example, my local admin, which is FileCloud's admin, cannot log in as a normal user, right? But the users that we have already created, they can access the admin portal and the normal user portal. That's an important difference to keep in mind. So to add an admin, you pretty much go ahead and select add admin. And I'm going to select one of my new users, which is, let's go ahead with the domain admin. Now, as you notice, not all users are displayed. In order for a user to be an admin, it cannot be a limited user. That's one of the most important things, right? Limited users are pretty limited to only receiving and uploading data. That's about it. So once I added it, I'm going to go from the dropdown, I'm going to select my user master. And now I'm going to click on the options that I want him to see. So master, I want him to have access to groups. And you notice that immediately users got selected. Now you might be wondering why. Because groups are codependent with users, right? They go side by side to each other. Why? Because if you want to manage the groups, you're going to have to be able to add users. So that is why those two are codependent. Now, let's say I want to give access to the rich dashboard. The rich dashboard is the one you saw at the beginning, with all the graphs and whatnot, right? Now, I also want to grant my user access to view user shares. And let's leave it at that. Only those two options. Now, once you're done, that's pretty much it. You're not going to get a save button or anything, right? It's automatically added. Just to give you a quick demo here. Immediately when I change it back and forth, you can see the changes on my user profile. Now, that's how you add an admin. If you're wondering how does that look, I'm going to log out of my user. By the way, if you're wondering what password will it require, it's going to require the same password from your Active Directory, right? So I can log in as the admin here with my new created administrative user. And as you see, I don't have that many options as I have with my other user, my full admin, right? I only have access to users, groups, and user shares. So what will be the use case for this? Let's say you have an auditor, right? That you really do not want to give him access to the admin portal, but you do want to give him access to some part of the system so he can view, for example, the audit logs, the user shares, and whatnot. The way to do it is that you would go into admins and you just go ahead and add another admin, granting him access to the system that you would like him to see. Now, at this point, we have reviewed our topics for today, which is users, groups, and admins. I'm gonna leave a minute here for Q&A. Any questions you have, please go ahead and ask them. This space is gonna be open for about 3 minutes, so you can just go ahead and ask any questions you want on the chat. If you do not see the chat window, let me just go ahead and send a message. It should pop out on your screen, so you might be able to see it. Any questions you have, feel free to let me know and we will proceed on answering them. Okay, I believe the topic was pretty much clear. Uh, Now, before I let you go, guys, what follows, right? There's a quick start guide will be emailed to all attendees that assisted this webinar. If you need help, feel free to contact our support team at support@codelate.com. That'll be support@codelate.com. And if you would really like to know more information of the user types, for example, or the AD integration, feel free to visit our documentation at www.getfilecloud.com/support docs. Within our documentation, you're going to have the option to have a search bar where you can just search, for example, for users and select user types, or you can select how to create a group. Just use keywords or maybe something that makes sense, like how to create a group, and immediately the documentation will come up. Once again, thank you for joining. I hope you have a great day.